Why did I create a blog, some of you may ask, right, in 2004? Now, so I was a computer science engineer by profession, and I've been connected with technology and IT for all my professional life. But when I moved to Agra, this place was very famous for that white building called Taj Mahal, but the problem was there were no jobs for somebody connected with technology like me, right? So I had two options. I could either connect with the local Bania community, you know, Banias. We have a lot of Banias in our city. So I could either connect with the local Bania community and create accounting and inventory management software for them. They don't pay very well, you know, so it wasn't very exciting. And the other option was to find some freelance IT-related work on the internet. So I thought, okay, let me try my hand at the latter option. So I created this blog, and the initial idea was that I would write everything that I have done in the past 5 years. I'll write about all my achievements on that blog, and probably somewhere, somebody in US, somebody in Europe will find my blog, and they will be extremely excited, and they will send all their work to me. So that was the initial plan, but that wasn't happening. So what happened was one day I was blogging, but I was not taking it very seriously, but I was still blogging because I was hoping people would find me and probably someday work would come through. Now one day what happened was I bought a printer for my dad's office. It was a HP LaserJet printer, and I found it very useful. And so what I thought was, let me blog about it. So I wrote I think now we call it a review, but back then basically I said that I bought a printer and it's really good, and these are the features of that printer. No, that single article turned out to be a little game changer for me, because what I saw was Google started sending traffic to that particular article, and the engagement level for that article was pretty high. So people were asking me, Amit, how much did you pay for this printer, and where did you find drivers for this printer? And all sort of those pre-purchase questions that you have. Now, definitely, you have tons of sites where you can find those answers. But back in 2004, things were a little different. So that really generated more interest in my blog, and I started focusing more on software tips and tricks. That's something which I do, and it worked out. It started improving. The traffic on the site started improving. Meanwhile, the same year I had signed up for a Google program. It was called Google AdSense. Are you guys aware of it? So it's basically a program where you include advertisements on your blog, and then they find advertisers for your blog, and they give you some kind of a 70-30% kind of commission. So I had put AdSense on my blog, but to be very frank, in the initial year, the revenue generated from those advertising networks was nothing to write home about. Sometimes it was 1 cent a day, 2 cents a day, and maybe when there were high traffic days, it was like 5 or 10 cents a day. So frankly speaking, it was nothing to write home about. So I continued to write a blog, and in 2004, blogging was still an alien word in India, right? I would go to a party, and then people would ask me, what do you do? And I would say, I'm a professional blogger. Then they would say, really, what do you do? I said, I write a blog. They said, that's okay, but what do you do? So it was a little bit difficult to convince people that blogs could be a source of income. It could be a source of livelihood. There were a lot of popular bloggers in India at that time, but to be very frank, the population was very, very small. A few unfortunate incidents happened in this country. I'm not sure if you remember. But there was a massive tsunami in the Indian Ocean around that time, right? And at that time, there was no Twitter and Facebook, and people were actually going to the internet to find news about their lost loved ones or find news about the disaster. But the mainstream media was not able to keep up with the disaster. I mean, the kind of information people were looking for, it was not coming out from the mainstream media. Now, it was that time when it was the bloggers who were on the ground zero, the affected areas who were sending in the pictures, the videos, the survival tales. So it was the bloggers in this country who were actually filling the gap that was not being done, job that was not being done, handled by the mainstream media. So that was one important moment, I think, in the history of blogging in this country, when bloggers were seen as credible sources of information and people started taking them more seriously. I think the following year or something, another major tragedy hit Mumbai itself. If you remember the 7/11 blast, right? A series of train blasts happened in Mumbai. Now what happened was, like, the government of India issued an order saying that these are the list of 10 or 12 websites that the ISPs of this country should ban. So the ISPs, they were very happy to oblige, and they immediately blocked those sites. But what happened was, the ISPs, instead of blocking those particular sites, they blocked the entire domains. So let's say if the government has asked them to ban abc.blogspot.com because they felt that the site was spreading religious extremism, the ISPs blocked the entire blogspot.com domains. So several popular websites in this country, like I think GeoCities, Blogspot, and a host of others, were blocked. Now that became a major talking point in India. It was picked up by the mainstream media outside, and it was seen as an act of censorship. So the bloggers in this country, bloggers are always extremely vocal about things, and so they grew extremely vocal about it. So there were a lot of debates happening on TV, and the ban was lifted, I think, in the next day or so. But I think these two incidents really helped grow the awareness of blogging in this country, and blogs were taken seriously. People in these years realized that blogs may not help you buy an Audi, but if you blog regularly, blog in your free time, they could probably help you pay the utility bills. So coming back to my blog, in these years, the traffic on the site of my site was also growing up. Now, if you were to ask me why this happened, it's very difficult to pinpoint what's the reason why my site became popular, but I can think of a few reasons. One was probably I was the first person in India who was writing a blog as a profession, so people were curious how this guy is doing, and probably that created interest, and that's the reason why they were checking my blogs. Or probably I was writing a technology blog, and there were not enough technology blogs in the country, and that is why it generated interest. Or the third reason could be probably what I wrote. People found it interesting and useful, and that's the reason why they keep coming back to my site and checking it. I don't know the reason that helped grow the traffic on my site, but I think one or two things that really helped me in all these years are, one is like extreme focus and consistency, in the sense, like, I have been blogging for 10 years now, but I've always focused on the stuff that I know and stuff that I'm really passionate about. I mean, I write in consumer technology. I don't write anything rocket science. I write something that everybody can connect to, and it's very simple. I just put it in words, and probably people appreciate it. The other thing is like focus. It's all focused in technology. If you have ever been to my blog, you'll probably never find anything personal stuff here. I don't write about what movie I saw or what food I ate. It's all about consumer technology, which most people can relate to and understand. Probably these are the two things that have helped. Now, I've been blogging as a one-man army all these 10 years. And when I tell people what I do, they are very excited, and they say, oh, you have a wonderful life. You can get up any time in the morning. You don't have a boss. And you have flexible hours. There are no pressures, no deadlines. So some of them are very envious. Oh, wow, you have a great job. But in these years, what I've realized is, like, these things tend to be counterproductive. It actually helps if you have a routine. It helps if you work as if you are working for a corporate in 9-to-5 jobs. Because if you go for the flexible hours, it's always like you're always busy, and yet the productivity is very low. So for me, I have a very fixed set of rules, where I only work when I'm inside the four walls of my office. If I'm outside, I never work. And probably that has worked out to be good for me. Now, coming to the monetization part, unfortunately in India, it is only Google AdSense that has worked for most of the bloggers in this country, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Now, there are so many advertising programs that keep coming up in India, and I've probably tried them, a lot of them. But the problem with these are either they pay extremely low, so it's better not having them at all, Sometimes the ads are not relevant to what you write, so they may repel visitors in the sense, if I'm writing on technology, I don't want an advertisement related to matrimonial websites on my site, right? But the problem with these networks are like they're never contextually relevant, so the ads generally repel visitors. And the third big reason is they sometimes slow down the website, your website, because these ads are hosted on such low performance servers that sometimes they have a negative effect on your website. Now, it's an unfortunate thing because we are ultimately putting all our eggs in one basket, but that's how we live. I mean, for Indian bloggers, I think AdSense is the only way to monetize a blog at this time. Now, the third thing is, again, related to Google, and that's Google search. Again, I mean, if you have a website, you will probably agree that Google search is still the largest source of referrals to your website. You have Facebook and Twitter sending you a lot of traffic, but ultimately, in the long run, it's always Google that sends you the maximum amount of traffic. And nobody knows what Google algorithms are, right? They keep changing every day. We don't know. Today, you focus on something. Recently, if you remember, they have said that guest blogging is, I mean, if you write a guest blog on something, that's not something you should do. So ultimately, I think what helps here is rather than focusing on how to get your stuff on Google first, because that's something not in our control, and with all these recent Panda and Penguin updates coming out, it's absolutely impossible for any one of us to game the system. So I think it's always a good idea to spend all our resources on creating good, useful content. The only thing that works in Google, I think, is they have a very basic PDF, I think, which are called Google Webmaster Guidelines. I think if you follow all those rules, and you follow a few basic rules, like if you have implemented Google authorship on your site, if you have implemented microdata, because semantic search and knowledge graph and all these things are coming, so microdata becomes extremely important. I think you are pretty much covered. There is no need for a blogger, like individual bloggers like me, to focus on the search effort, because that's something not in our control. The only things that two probably things that you can focus on, one is have a good site with great typography, because everyone knows we have short attention span, and our readers probably will only scan the site. So it really helps to have a great readable and site with excellent typography. And the other big important factor that really matters is speed. If you have a website that takes 10 seconds to load on a mobile phone, be rest assured that people are not going to read it. So it really helps to invest your effort in improving all these things. Now, that fellow in the back says my time is up, so probably I'll close down. Maybe if you have any more questions, we'll take up in the Q&A later. Thank you.